Hello and welcome. This discussion is dedicated to the speedy achievement of just and lasting peace in Israel. Um, I want to make a group of videos based upon a special book from Friedrich Weinreb. It's called Schöpfung in Wort in German, which is translated into English Creation in Word. As I know, it's available only in German and in Dutch languages. This is the book. So let's jump into it. The question is Torah a human product or is it of higher origin? How do we deal with this question? To put it with the words of late Christopher Hitchens, he was a famous British author, journalist, and anti-theist. Has a degree in philosophy and so on. So he puts it like this: religion is derived from childhood of our species, so it's old, where we had no good answers. This was our first attempt at philosophy based on misapprehension of nature. So what he basically says is that it's an old stuff with failures and errors. We know better now. But is it correct? How do scientists today decide, for instance, whether a signal from an outer space is of natural or let's say of an intelligent origin? A basic important feature is the signal complexity. So complexity as characteristics. It's not a proof, but a sign of unnaturality or of intelligence. So if we could show in the Torah text a much higher complexity of information than what we can assume from any alleged Torah author of that time, which is the claim of Christopher Hitchens and like him, it would suggest that Torah has a higher origin than Hitchens thought of it, not to say of a highest possible origin. Okay, so let's start. This is our question for today. Let's just read Torah and what do we find in it? The first thing is that we see that every creation act in the first Genesis story generates so-called dualities or opposites, which are on the first day light and darkness, then water above, water below, water and land, and so forth. This is the starting point uh, of our looking into the text and finding patterns. So let's rearrange the whole stuff. Why rearrange? We will see it in a second. As we can see, we have here two times of four creation acts. The first day, the second day, and the third day here. A double creation on the third day. So 4 on the first, third, 3 days, and 4 actions on the second 3 days. And in total we have 10 of them because on the Sabbath, on the seventh day, we have 2 creations more. Then we have, depending on that, an extra duality between the first 3 days and the second 3 days. The same pattern, the same structure. then we see that the right and the left side of the rearranged structure are opposites too. It's the light, or respectively fire, versus water. So light against water and sun as a source of light or source of fire against water. And the last but not least is we see that the days or the creations, the actions of the first triad correspond to the days of the second triad. So the first day corresponds to the fourth, the second to the fifth, and so on. How do we see it? Well, we see the right side has to do with light, and the left side has to do with water. And the third day and the sixth day correspond to, and it is a special correlation. It's first of all a double correlation. We see a twin structure. The structure of the third day is a kind of prerequisite for what we see on the sixth day. It's a prerequisite for life in general, and here we have a prerequisite for human life in particular, where the 3b point is it's the life in general, those are the plants, and the 6b is the human life in particular. So it's a correspondence too. So it's quite complex, as we can see. Now, we know about special misreading here. The question is, why does the sun appear only on the fourth day? After water, after land, after plants, after light. How can light exist before the sun exists? Does Torah contradict science? And the answer is no, because the Torah text describes sun on the fourth day as a source of stable periods and seasons on earth for animal and human lives. So the creation of the special function of the sun, of this time giver function, a calendar giver function, and not the creation of the sun and the stars in general, put it into this order. So it's a misreading. We know about many structures and many stories in Torah, and as we can see, all opposites in Torah and actually in the reality fit into this triad schema. What do we see here? The right side, the left side, and the middle. Then we have masculinity on the right side, femininity on the left side, and the childness in the middle. And so on. We know about Abraham that his stories are, let's say, kind of active. This is the right side, the active side. And the Isaac, his son, the stories about Isaac are actually softer and smoother. They have to do with water and not with fire and not with fighting. And the son of Abram and Isaac is a twin, as we know. So Jacob and Esau are twins. And not only that, Jacob has a double name, as we know. Jacob is also Israel. And Jacob has two wives, as we know, Leah and Rachel. So it's a special structure in Genesis which corresponds to many, many stories in Torah. What do we know about the second Genesis story? Well, actually, the structure of the second story is the same as of the first one. We have also two triads. The triad above is a prerequisite for the second one, and its product is the second one. There are corresponding days. How do we see it? Well, on the first creation, on the first day, it was a mist. Mist was created. It has to do with fluidity, with fluids, and the river corresponds to that. The day 2 and the day 5 are, or the creation 2 and creation 5 have to do with human, with the creation of human, and with the human, putting the human in front of the trees. There are also 10 creation acts, and uh, everything in this story has to do with water. It's a water side story, a left side story. And correspondingly to that, woman is actually the active actor, not the man, not Adam, but his wife Eve. Then a specialty in this story which we can try to understand. Miraculously, the numeric values of used Hebrew letters of the created objects and the given ratios between the objects have to do with the numbers 1 and 4. Let's take a look. The Hebrew word mist is ed, so the numeric values are 1 and 4. Adam has a numeric value of letters 1, 4, 40. The ratio between the numeric number of the words tree of life and tree of knowledge of good and evil are accordingly 1 to 4. Then we know the river divides. One river divides into 4 rivers. Then the human stands in front of the trees, and then we have here a special commandment for human not to eat from a special tree, from this fourfold tree. So is it a coincidence? It's a good question. Now, what have we learned out of that? First of all, the text of both Genesis stories has a complex and logical structure, which, let's say, hardly can be seen by simple reading. Then the structure seemed to correspond to some stories in Torah and to reality. Then values of Hebrew letters and words seem also to correspond to each other and don't seem to be used by chance. We have no proof for that, but we can state this actually. This is only a tip of the whole complexity iceberg. More information you'll find in the next video if you like. I wish you all the best. Thank you, bye bye, and stay safe.